Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, after going through the basics of Lightroom Classic and after going through the detail panel of Lightroom Classic, I would like to go through the histogram and 3 different photos to show you exactly how the histogram behaves and how the histogram shows up when you're dealing with underexposed, properly exposed and also overexposed photos. Now, the histogram is a visual representation of our exposure, so let's get right into it, and immediately you can see the histogram at the top right corner of Lightroom Classic. This panel right here shows you what the visual representation of your exposure in the image is. As you can see, we have several peaks here, and you can see that the histogram is split into 4 channels. One of them is visualized in white, which is the basic exposure of your image. The other is the green, the red and the blue channels. So these channels are literally RGB, which are red, green and blue channels. Now, as you can see right here, we have a lot of peaks on the left side of the histogram. The left side of the histogram is actually your shadow areas in the image, while the right side is obviously the highlights because it's the opposite end. Now, the midtones reside in the middle of the histogram, as you can probably assume, and what you can see right here is that our image is slightly underexposed. When you look at the image, you can see that it's composed of a lot of dark areas. That is why everything is shifted towards the left, which means that the photo is slightly underexposed. If we take a look at a photo which is slightly overexposed, you can see that the histogram shows us more peaks on the other side of the histogram. So the peaks are on the left side, which means that we have a lot of high exposure areas. When your photo is properly exposed, you can see that the histogram visualizes this in a bit of a more averaged out histogram. So you can see that we have a peak at the left side and also a small peak on the right side. This is because we have some shadows in this image and we also have some highlights, some exposure areas in the sky. One thing that you have to understand when looking at the histogram is that it helps you a lot to understand what your image is composed of. Now, if we go to the first picture, you can see that we have a lot of dark areas. I already explained this. And if you go to this top left corner, you have this triangle right here, which tells you show shadows. It practically shows the clipping shadows, which are the areas in your photo which are actually too dark. Now, if we actually open the basic panel and reduce the exposure, you can see that these blue highlights will increase. Let me just move that exposure and you can see the clipping shadows increasing. Let's go back to the default. If we enable the highlight clipping, you can see that we have some highlights that are actually clipping, and if we increase exposure, the opposite of what we just did, you can see that those highlights and those clipping areas will increase. So if you really want to visualize the areas of your image that are underexposed and overexposed, you can use these 2 triangles right here to allow you to understand where those areas are. I hope that this tutorial was interesting. I hope that it gives you some benefit for your Lightroom Classic workflow, and also let me know in the comments below what you would like to know more about. Thank you for watching as always, and please make sure to like and subscribe.